Sean from Kayak Flyer here. I didn't get to do a vlog last week. I say I didn't get to do one, I just didn't do one. I should be a little bit better than that. I was really thinking there might be more of a response from the vlogs. There really haven't been, but I understand that because it's not the content that you normally see on here. I went fishing the other day and a buddy of mine had a great catch, was recording the whole thing, and then realized that he didn't record it. He wound up recording 55 minutes of his pocket, talking about what a great fish I'd caught. It was in a 4-weight fly rod, a river that I've never caught anything more than 12 inches out of, and this smallmouth was at least 2 pounds. It jumped out of the water right while we were recording. It was beautiful. I got it right over by the camera. It jumped, all in frame. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. We all talk about our home river. Everybody seems to have a river they're most comfortable on, they know how to fish. For about 6 years, there's been one particular stretch of river that I've wanted to fish. I really didn't want to fish it by myself because it is extremely sketchy and it's an extremely long float. So if you don't start of a morning, you can't get through it. So the plan was to get on the water between 8:30 and 9. There was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff happening on the way there, on the entire setup. Everything, if it could go wrong, it went wrong. That's all there is to it. There wasn't a single thing that went right. We wound up getting on the water at 12:30. I talked to my cousins. 2 of them have floated it quite a bit. Their advice was, because the river is up, you should make it to the takeout before dark. But don't fish. Well, of course we fished. The river was up. This is the part of the river where it widens out and it gets deep, and consequently this is also the part of the river where a lot of the logs wind up stopping. And in big floods, it's where a lot of the banks get washed down. There's actually an island in the river at this point in time. It's not, I would not recommend this float. So we set off knowing that it's going to be very difficult. I caught 1 fish. I lost 3 lures because I was spin fishing. I didn't want to take my fly rod on this. Buddy of mine lost probably 8 lures and caught 3 fish. And we got down to about the halfway point on this 9-mile float. Now it would have been 14 miles, but I had access to get in at a certain spot that is very private. I wouldn't suggest you doing it. So we get down to where they'd rebuilt a bridge. Used to, you could take out there, but they built a high bridge instead of a low bridge, and so you can't get out. As soon as we got to that bridge, the flow went to nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that was at about 2 o'clock, it was closer to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It went to nothing. So we started paddling. We stopped fishing and started paddling, and paddled the rest of the way. And it was one of these where you paddled about 20 strokes, took a break, took a sip of water, beer, whatever you had, paddled about 20 more strokes, trying to keep up a decent rhythm to where when you stopped, you didn't just stop in the water. We made it after quote-unquote sunset, with enough light though to see the boat ramp and to get everything loaded up. By the time we got back to the camper that we were staying at, it was headlight dark. I mean, it was dark. It was 8:30, I think. And I went in, I think I drank a beer, went in and went to bed. Got up the next morning, sore in more places that I knew I could be sore in. I'd already promised a friend of mine I'd go to the Elks Lake with him. He came over, went to the Elks Lake. I paddled around the Elks Lake. Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, I felt like I had been beat. And it's maybe a southern expression, but I felt like I'd been beat like a rented mule. It was bad. I hurt across here. The calves of my legs hurt from where my feet were set up against my kayak. Whew, was it bad. That being said, I'm very proud of myself for taking that adventure. However, I have no desire to do that again. And one thing that I was thinking about while I was on the water was my age. And I know I look deceptively young. Most of you think I'm probably not a day over 31 because I've just been blessed with great facial features. But the reality is, as I was sitting there thinking about this, realistically, I have maybe 10 more years of this in me. And that's on the good side. As you can tell, I smoke a pipe. I drink a few beers. So the investment I'd planned on making in selling my kayak and buying a different kayak really slapped me as something that may not be something I want to do. And this is sort of a little off topic from where the vlog was going. So all I wanted to say was, when you get the opportunity to do something, and I know we've talked about opportunity before, and I'm not trying to make this an opportunity thing, you need to do it. Because here's the deal. I did not necessarily enjoy the float. So, the entire float. There were many aspects of the float that I extremely enjoyed. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a perfect 5. There were things I absolutely hated about it. There were things I absolutely loved about it. And I can't sit here and tell you, watching the bald eagles fly, seeing the bald eagle's nest, seeing all the cypress trees that are not generally, well, they're not in any area of the river except for this specific river, being able to sit and visit with some of my family before I went, being out with a friend of mine, and just having that conversation and camaraderie on the river, those were great experiences. I didn't like that every other cast I got snagged and broke off and finally just said to hell with it and quit fishing. I didn't like the fact that my buddy dumped his kayak and we spent an hour trying to fish out his rod and reel with a magnet. Thank God I bought my son a magnet. He wanted to go magnet fishing. I bought it for him. Got a $150 rod and reel set up back thanks to it. So, point being, when you talk about how much you enjoy something, I don't think that it's a scalable event of saying, well, I enjoyed this or I enjoyed that. You have to look at the overall picture. Many reasons why I would go back and do it if there was a takeout at the halfway point. I'd do it all day long if there was a takeout at the halfway point. So I could put in halfway and go down the other way, or if I could take out halfway from where I started. I would do that all day long. It was a great stretch of river. Had the water been lower, I would have never made it in time. It would have been 9:30, 10 o'clock by the time I got out. The river was probably moving on the kayak 4 miles an hour. And that first stretch of river, we just flew through. I mean, just flew through. You couldn't hardly fish it because your Ned head, which is what I was using, wouldn't get to the bottom fast enough, and it would just be taken out line and being pulled along. It was insane. But I think when these times come up and we look at these trips, you can sort of judge what you like, but always go on that adventure. Always look for that place that I want to try this. I've wanted to try it for many a year. I have. I did it. I'm glad I did it. I would not have died happy knowing that I hadn't done it. Do I want to do it again? Oh, hell no. That's not even on the radar of things I want to do again. Will I do it again? Yeah, I'll probably get talked into doing it again. But I'll leave at daylight. At daylight so that I can fish it. and I will take plans to use my GPS. I'll have to get some kind of GPS with everything I need so that I can be out by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Because sitting on that river at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, knowing you got 3.5 more miles to go and you got to paddle the whole thing, ain't a good time. So, all I want to tell you on this little video, and I have no idea why this camera is doing this. I've got to figure all this out. What I'm trying to explain to you, what I'm trying to instill in you, and I know you know this, you all know this, you wouldn't be watching a podcast like Kayak Flyer if you didn't know this stuff. But man, it is something when you go on an adventure just for the sake of the adventure. There's no payoff in it. I knew there wasn't going to be a payoff in it. When we were there late, I knew we weren't going to be able to fish, but I wanted to get that stretch of river under my belt. And that made me feel so good. So, when you're looking at an adventure, when you're looking at a float, don't judge it by the merits of enjoyment all the time. You know, I would have been happier floating a different section of the river, but that was a section I wanted to do and I did it. And I'm proud that I did it. So I guess what I'm saying is challenge yourself. Take something up that you know might not be the smartest thing in the world. Wear your life jacket. Get on that kayak and go down that stretch of river that you've been wanting to explore. So, if those are any words of wisdom, if you liked my story, please like and subscribe to the channel. It does me a lot of good. Tune into Kayak Flyer, the podcast. We don't talk about this kind of stuff on there. We actually have guests. We talk about interesting things. It's not just me rambling. Kayak Flyer, find it anywhere you download podcasts, or find it live Monday nights at 8 Central on Facebook.com/LoseTheRadio.